Welcome back to the Shoebill studio. I'm Steve, and this is Bouquet.
Hey, it's me, Future Steve, from the future. I don't wear glasses anymore. When I was editing this video, I realized that I left out some very important information. And if you're anything like me, you have a huge shelf full of games that you wish you had friends to play with. Well, maybe you have friends, they just won't play those games with you. Well, guess what? We need to start thinking. We've got brains, we're smart people, we play RPGs. We need to start thinking about games that we can get people onboarded into, I don't know, things like Gloomhaven if you still haven't played that in 2025. We need things that can help us, tools that can help us convince our friends into playing better board games with us. And Bouquet is the way. Trust. I gotta get out of here. The future is collapsing.
I was sent this review copy of Bouquet by Rough Draft Games, and right up front, I had a good time. This is a very unassuming box filled with a game that punches way above its perceived weight class. While this game definitely has some problems, most of them are not problems that persist once you've sort of figured out the rules, and underneath it all is a real nice little gem that I think is fantastic for just about any game group. This is an unpaid review. There were no contracts signed, no money exchanged, and no promises made about what I'd end up saying. When the folks over at Rough Draft initially reached out to me, Bouquet was pitched to me as a light strategy area control game. And yeah, technically that's true, but I think the better way to describe it is as a heavy party game, or maybe a party game with substance. And that's where Bouquet lives. You can get it to the table fast with almost any group, regardless of their gaming background or experience. And underneath this unassuming, flowery exterior is a wild, bluff-filled good time that has just enough strategy to keep more demanding players interested. And part of what makes this possible is this aesthetic. It's flowers, it's watercolor flowers. It's like an impressionist painter's dream. That matters because so many games immediately scare people off with heavy theming or just overly gamery vibes, and Bouquet is the opposite. It's approachable, it's inviting, and it gets people leaning in instead of pulling back. I think that hardcore gamers will give it a shot once it's explained because honestly the mechanisms are pretty clever, but folks who only play games maybe once or twice a year, you know, like the holidays or whatever, my mom, my neighbors, whoever, they'll sit down and they'll engage as well, maybe just because at first they simply like the looks of it. It bridges the game gap in a way that not many games do. Approachable looks with chewy mechanics and enough nonsense to give everyone a shot at winning. Oh God, is this Mario Party? Yahoo! Of course this isn't Mario Party. That wouldn't be fun. And this actually is quite fun. So let's get a little context for how this Bad Jackson plays. At the end of the day, the goal in Bouquet is just to score the most points. Different petals are worth different amounts, some positive, one negative, and the real spice comes from the side buds that lock petals in place and grant point bonuses, as well as the vase that gets placed at the very end of each game that triples the value of any petals it touches. So you're not just throwing petals down randomly, you're actually jockeying for control of spaces, you're bluffing with face down cards and trying to set yourself up so that when the dust settles, your petals are worth more than everybody else's. Each petal type has a value associated with it, and that value actually only gets counted toward your final score if you can manage to keep that petal in the bouquet until the game ends. Normal petals are worth 1 point, B petals are worth 3, petals with dew are worth 4, and wilted petals are worth -2. On your turn, you can do one of 3 things. 1, you can place a petal from your hand onto the bouquet. 2, you can pluck one of your opponent's petals off the bouquet. You have to discard a card from your hand to do this. And 3, you could draw 3 new cards, always minding your hand limit of 5. Pretty straightforward, yeah? But the real fun comes from how each petal behaves, especially face up versus face down. For instance, normal petals are the baseline and they're easy to play face up or face down. You can really do whatever you want with them. They're great for misdirection. But then you've got petals with Bs. If you place them face up, they can't be plucked, but they have to slot in between 2 existing petals. Face down, they can go anywhere, but if someone plucks your face down B, they get to place a petal from their hand right away for free into the bouquet. Dew petals placed face up can go anywhere. If they get plucked, they remove the 2 petals adjacent to them as well. Placed face down, they have to go directly across the bud from a petal. But if someone plucks your face down do petal similarly to a bee, they get to place a petal from their hand right away for free. Wilted petals are hilarious traps. Hilarious and useful. Place one face up, you immediately draw 5 new petals, minding your 5 petal hand limit, of course. And if anyone plucks a wilted petal you've placed face up or face down, you get to slam 2 new petals from your hand straight into the bouquet. That's a huge tempo swing. Let's take a closer look at how area control plays into all of this. And like I said, this isn't just chaos. There's real strategy in how the bouquet itself expands as the game progresses. Once 5 consecutive petals are placed in the main bud, that triggers the addition of the side buds. The first side bud locks in the central petal of the 5 that triggered it, permanently. That means that no one can pluck it anymore, and it gives that petal 3 bonus points. The second side bud then immediately appears 180 degrees across the main bloom, and it's locked, guaranteed not to get plucked by any overly zealous gardeners at the table. So tell me, how good was your side bloom setup? Were you able to nab both in one genius maneuver? You could even just block your opponents outright with these blocking petals for an even more vicious bud placement, really driving home the message of no points for you. And then there's the vase. At the end of the game, the player with the most petals in the discard pile gets to place the vase, and it triples whatever petals it's attached to. That can be massive, and because there are only 2 places the vase can go, controlling the bouquet as those bonuses come online is really the heart of the area control side of this game. Additionally, bluffing is clearly important here. While placing petals, you have to think long and hard about how to trick your opponents into leaving your most valued petals intact, all while attempting to secure and maintain pole position so that when the right openings arrive, you're ready to seize the moment. The other side of this equation is when you're the one plucking other people's petals. You'll be asking yourself, do I risk plucking this? Am I about to trigger some ridiculous cascade of events? And those moments where you fully commit to plucking only to pluck your competition's wilted petal is where Bouquet really shines. It'll have the group reeling from laughter and groaning about being duped in the best way possible. So let's talk about what Bouquet gets really, really right. You've got these incredible, swingy, hilarious moments. The bluffing, the plucking, the traps. It's not a math puzzle. It's more of a, oh my God, I can't believe that I fell for that. And that's fun for everybody at the table. Everybody just goes wild. But by and far, what this game does best is its reach. Bouquet has incredible potential to reach many, many different types of people. This is one of those rare games that I could bring to almost any table. My normal hardcore gaming group, or even just people who rarely play games. And that's because it's so approachable. The theme isn't intimidating, the art's inviting, and it's something that it feels like it could exist on a big box store's shelf, but it's got enough clever mechanics that even experienced, more demanding players are going to enjoy this, at least for a period of time. Honestly, I think that this should be marketed as a party game, not a light strategy area control game. Because when you start calling it strategy or area control, you're really starting to speak like gamer language. If you call it a party game with some teeth or substance, then you're really opening it up to everybody. And I think that that's where Bouquet can really shine. And for me, I'm always looking for opportunities to find games that just sort of like act as a workout for people who are not necessarily folks that would identify themselves as a gamer. And this is a game that I can sort of like baby step somebody into Scythe with. Or maybe if we need somebody else to join one of our bigger campaign games, hey, you want to come play Frosthaven, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm never going to start them off with that. I'm going to be like, hey, this is what a game is. See how fun and manageable and cool this is? And then maybe we work up to, hey, you want to come play Near and Far? It really does a great job of spanning that gap. Very, very cool. All right, let's talk about what doesn't work. The only thing that I have to be critical about mechanically in this game is the plucking action. And plucking feels really punishing. You have to pay a petal. There's a lot of P words here. You have to discard a card from your hand to pluck, and if you guess incorrectly, you've basically thrown away some pretty significant tempo. Some people in my group actually just started to refuse to pluck at all, but the biggest thing that is not working for me with Bouquet is really the rule book. It's only got 4 pages and somehow manages to not clearly explain the game in a single read, like from front to back. There are no step-by-step examples, and for me, the flow didn't really make a ton of sense. The player aids are, I think, maybe one of the most problematic parts of the game. The icons for face up and face down petals are confusing, they're not intuitive. Again, if you didn't know anything about this game and you were just sort of given this to look at while somebody else was sort of reading the rules to you, the fact that like it doesn't tell you which side is face up or face down on this card is an issue. And you know, to add insult to injury, the actual petal icons on the aids are the same exact color as one of the player colors, and that is just confusing, again, without any context. You know, when I first sat down with it, I actually thought, wait, do the colors interact differently depending on which color you're playing? You know, so using overlapping colors between the player aid and the actual cards in a game where color already means so much, you know, regarding like whose cards are whose, seems like an oversight, or maybe just like, you know, you were too far in at the point that, you know, you were doing graphic design. You know, everybody already knew the rule set so well that of course they would never make that mistake. But hand this to somebody, just the box, here, figure this out, you know, without having any of the playtesting or any of the background information that, you know, obviously the designers or the playtest team may have had. Can you teach yourself the game just without any previous context? The last thing is actually an accessibility issue, and it comes down to the petal colors sort of generally not being distinct enough. A friend with color blindness played this with me, and they couldn't easily tell the difference specifically between the yellow and the green, but also struggled with you know, some of the other colors. They were able to discern ultimately, but you know, they couldn't make snap decisions about what color was what. And then the other issue was with like the blue card, especially the backs of them where it's blue on blue. Some of these things for folks that are visually impaired might be difficult for them to play this game effectively. The colors being less saturated and a little bit more muted and all more or less the same value, obviously that leads to a more cohesive look on the table when you've got the whole thing going, but the game has to be easily playable for, you know, the people that are trying to play it as well. So that's all I have to say about that. And I really want to emphasize that all these issues that I have with the game do not ruin this game at all. I still enjoyed my time with it a lot, but they do make sort of the first couple playthroughs bumpier than they should be because you're spending a lot more time trying to make sure that you've got the rules correct and really sort of having to play through scenarios to find the explicit sort of rule systems that are in place once you've made the mistake enough times to sort of see, oh, well, that can't be how that works. But with a game like this, especially depending on how experienced your gaming group is, you know, a teaching system that doesn't work right away the first time in really can make or break a group's willingness to table the game more than once. So who is this for? Who is it not for? I don't think that this is a game for math heads, you know, who want airtight, perfect strategy, you know, that they want to be able to calculate the optimal move every turn. You know, I think Bouquet will really frustrate you. And that largely, you know, comes down to a lot of the fun in this game is dependent on your ability to navigate your opposition. You know, can you bluff convincingly enough? Can you tell when your opponent is bluffing? You can plan and exact like an excellent strategy only to have sort of a wild player pluck your cornerstone petal, you know, without reason. And, you know, to a strategy purist, I think that that might be a little bit too much to deal with. This is a game I would absolutely recommend, but I'd pitch it as a party game with substance because that's what makes it special. It's accessible, it's fun, it's got those gotcha moments that make you laugh and groan, and it's quick enough that losing doesn't matter. Once you've got the rules on lock, Bouquet becomes the kind of game I'd happily bring to any game night. It's one of those rare games I'd actually recommend to both my regular game group and my mom in the same breath, and that says a lot. Definitely a Bouquet worth putting on the table. If this review was helpful at all, hit that like button, it really does make a difference, and subscribe if you want more from the Shoebill studio. Drop a comment if you've played Bouquet or if you've got another approachable party game with a little bite that you'd recommend. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.